So in the last video, when I was wearing the exact same shirt 2 days ago, we were talking about how I would be a little bit more neutral if Bitcoin decided that it wanted to make its way beyond 62K. Now that obviously happened, okay? The way or the time that I left you was probably around here, and I was saying that we're probably going to come back up for that SFP. Actually, we were right here and up and away we went. Great. Now, what happens next? Well, I will say this. We are in a daily order block, okay? We tapped this zone next, and we did get the actual confirmation to take the short. Actually, we're kind of getting it right now from this daily order block. The first thing we need to understand is we are in a range. We were in a range, blah, blah, blah. We SFP'd the high of the range, and then we came down to the low of the range. Yes, we have liquidity above. No, I'm not saying short now. No, I'm not saying that this level won't hold. However, what I am saying is if this daily order block is going to hold, what can we expect next? And I think the answer is relatively clear when it comes to market structure, okay? If you're taking your structure from the low to the high, your structure right now is up, down, up, down, up, down, up, okay? After you get a break of structure, which we have again from the low to the high, you would expect somewhat of a pullback. So we're going to talk about the long positions that we might be taking or we might be looking at down here should Bitcoin decides to pull back, which I believe it will. However, one thing I want to talk about before we get there is our macro structure. I believe it is very important that we cannot mistaken the structure for what it is. I understand Bitcoin's back at 62K and everybody's saying the bull market is about to begin, even though we've been in an uptrend for 2 years straight. But we need to remember that your overall macro structure from the high to the low is still in a downtrend. And for you to actually flip structure, proper high time frame structure, bullishly proper, you're going to have to break 69K. Now, remember, I said if I broke 62K, I'll be a little bit more neutral, which I absolutely am. If we break 64K, which is this guy here, I'll be a little bit more bullish. But I wanted to mention that because I want to go over what I think the expectational order flow on Bitcoin here may be, okay? First thing we need to understand, once again, is after you get a break of structure, as we have right over here, remember we're speaking internally, you will typically get a pullback. Where can we pull back to? Well, if I pull up my scalp TA, I have found a very nice zone to potentially long, okay? That zone is between 60.7, give or take, and 60.2. Now, we do have some high volume confluence at these levels, but most importantly, this will respect your upwards structure and potentially give you that shot up to these highs up here. Now, that being said, I need to make it known here why I'm looking down for these levels. Whenever you have a break of structure and you get a pullback, you will usually get a mitigation of the range that you had prior to. What I mean by that is, look at how from here you broke structure, okay? You retested that, basically that break line, okay? Here, up, down, up, you broke structure, you retested within the range, okay? So whatever the previous range was prior to the break of structure, you typically will retest. And when you don't retest it, that gives you a good reason to come back down. Well, the range was broken from left to right here. So if I were to move this over, and I mean, the correct terminology is the range-based demand. I just, for the people that may not know, this range-based demand was not mitigated. So we're already expecting post a breakout like we've had to have somewhat of a retest in this general area. Now, is it possible that we lose the area? Yes. Is it possible that you SFP the area? Yes. Do I think it's likely? At this moment in time, I want to say not really. However, we're only going to take the long upon confirmation. In the event that these levels don't hold, then we could be looking for much lower. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we have quite a bit of liquidity beneath us in terms of really like what Bitcoin is able to run for. When you're determining targets or where to enter the market, you can't just say, oh, I'm longing this number because I think this number looks cool. You have to be aware of what's going around you, or what the sentiment, not sentiment, but like what's happening, what's your surroundings when it comes to these levels. Like, does this 45-minute order block, which I thought we were going to hit last week, does this one make sense to bounce off of? Well, yeah, because you have all this liquidity that was not taken post creating this 45-minute order block. So is it possible that we come back down there? Absolutely. But for now, in the in the interest of remaining our trend to the upside, like keeping this intact, I am looking for a long up here. Now, it's not the craziest long in the world. We will be able to get a good risk to reward off of this long, but I would be shooting for maybe 65, potentially 66, maybe 67. Now, the reason I wanted to bring up the macro downtrend is because, once again, I think it is very important for us to not get a little bit too carried away here and understanding that this is your structure. It is high, it is low. We could just be hunting for a lower high to then make a lower low. So we cannot discredit that idea. And that lower high can come from one of two places, in my opinion, if you're going to get the lower high. Actually, technically, one of three places. One is going to be where we're at right now. Do I think it's probable? I don't know. We're going to have to see what happens at this 62K or 60.8 to 60.2K level if we make a run for the liquidity that we have not taken. Remember, we did not actually mitigate that range-based order block, and we're building up quite a bit of liquidity over the weekend. You know, I made a tweet on Twitter saying Asia loves giving away free money more than they love their rice, which is the case. If you've just been 100x longing Asia open all week, you've been in profit, right? So Asia's been handing out free money, and there is potentially a chance that they're going to come back and, come and attack that free money. So that's something to note. However, right now, if we're going to get a lower high, if this level is not going to be the lower high, this is going to have to hold. You're really going to have to hold, or at the very worst case scenario, in my opinion, at this point, I don't even want to see low 50s or mid 50s, 56, 57. I don't even want to see that if we're going to continue an uptrend. If we start losing this low here with conviction, so if we start losing 59.2, then what happens is your internal structure, which is the only structure that we can play off of, right? Internally is like this. Your internal structure flips bearish. And once that happens, then I'm favoring that this is your high and you're going to probably come back down for this low, okay? Or we'll see along the way because remember, liquidity moves the market and we have quite a bit of liquidity beneath us. Just like last week, we had a bunch of liquidity above us and that's all been taken now. So we're taking that into consideration, right? Now, what I'm kind of expecting and what I'm kind of hoping for is actually something like this, where we come down, we get the confirmation that I want to see in my zone or one of my levels here, and then we long it up to take those highs. This would be, in my opinion, a better place to have a lower high, okay? The reason I think that it's a better place to have a lower high is because, number one, it'll be a massive liquidity sweep of these guys here. You know, if you take your measure tool and you take it from this high, for the past 28 days, we have had shorts being built above these highs. So to me right now, it does make more sense that we are actually going to take those highs. And when I'm determining whether or not they're going to make a run for the highs, I typically look at the duration of like how long we've been in that level, right? So for example, here, we've been in it for 38 days. Since our August 5th dump, we've been in this kind of range, and we're still just in the range, guys, for 47 days, right? And they don't typically give you that much time, right? So that's why I'm also entertaining these ideas that perhaps the low may not be in yet. I'm not saying it's not, but obviously it's our job to eat the ginger and remain as objective as possible. And do I think that they're going to give you 40 days to get into this long if this is going to be the long to the all-time high? Or do I think it's going to be a fast move where they don't really give anybody a chance to go long? And I favor the latter here. I think that it'll be more of a fast move where you don't really have that much time to get in, right? It's kind of just like a bang bang scenario, maybe something like this. Like it's just boom and then up. Like you're either in or you're not. See this? You're either in or you're not. Not you're in and then it lingers around for 10 years. And, anyways, I'm ADHDing again. Good job, Geo. So I'm expecting that, okay? Yeah, I'm hoping that we come down, hit this, bounce off, and then hit here. If I see the confirmations that I see upwards of 66, and it could be anything above this high. It doesn't even need to be this level, but I do like this level because you have your down volume point of control. You have the macro, I believe the macro range point of control, if I'm not mistaken. You have a naked weekly and daily point of control here as well. So we have a lot of confluence, a lot of confluence. And you have your whole 786 from the move to the downside as well. So you have a lot of confluence in this zone. And that, in my opinion, right now, at the very least, seems to be the big daddy that Bitcoin has to get over. Now, Bitcoin has had to get over many supply zones this week, and it's been doing an excellent job of doing so. However, this is the big boy, and this could have just been the true order flow objective for Bitcoin to then make that lower low. Because remember, again, despite what you think and despite how bullish everybody is on YouTube and whatever, and rightfully so, I mean, we're up, and I'm not saying that we're not going to continue higher, but in the event that this is a high, low, lower high, lower low, I think that this is an excellent place for that to make sense. And I think that if we bounce off of 60.4, give or take, then that would give us enough juice to make it up here to then potentially roll over, okay? And if it's not going to be that, then I do think one last SFP potential of maybe around 70 to 71K. However, this is not my favorite short at all, because what did I say? If you start closing above 64K, I'll be a little bit more bullish. And really, if you start closing significant candles up here, and this is not just a big liquidity grab upwards of 66, 67K, then I do think that remember, we're working kind of with internal structure. It's weird because your primary structure is still from like this high, from, oh my, from this high to this low. So you have like I don't even know what is that, 70K to 49. You have like a $22,000 range that we're still just playing in. But then you have a bunch of like internal structure that we're kind of messing around with here as well. So it's not the easiest in terms of like perspective, because I mean trading is all perspective, right? It's all subjective. But working with what we have, I do think that if we were to remember, we're paying attention to this like internal local uptrend. And if something like this happens where you bounce off that 1 hour level and then you come up and then you hit this and then you spend some decent time here, then we could essentially just expect this to go higher. And although it is possible to reject from 70K, I don't really think that the odds of doing that again are very likely, because we've obviously tested it many times and we obviously have quite a bit of liquidity above us now as well. So that's kind of what I'm looking out for Bitcoin for at least the next week or so. We'll have to wait and see. It's about to be weekend volume, so I very much so encourage you guys not to go overly, ham on the weekends, because they tend to do stupid things from time to time. However, obviously you're going to do what you're going to do, and I'm not your dad, so you guys, feel free to do whatever you want. But this is kind of what I'm looking at. And you know what? I've been pretty good with reading this very choppy market as of late. I think even here, we could have potentially a model 1 distribution. So right now you have this liquidity above, so that could be your tap 1, that could be your tap 2. We could get our tap 3 here, which is obviously why I have my position here potentially. I already shorted this wick, but potentially, you get another one and then come down to this guy, and then bounce up. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, you guys know I don't make predictions anymore. I just take it level for level. And so whatever the next level is, if I see the confirmations, I take the trade. If I don't, I don't. And it's literally as simple as that. And that's been serving me pretty well lately. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for Bitcoin right now. I do think it is a very decisional moment. And I think that it is very important to not get overly bullish or overly bearish. I mean, realistically, if we turn off everything, you guys can see we are simply just in the range. Nothing is different. And it's kind of funny because for so long, I feel like there have been people, calling for way lower, people like myself. And I mean, the bears haven't really been winning, but then there have also been people that are saying we're going way higher, we're going way higher. And the bulls haven't really been winning either. And I feel like we're just like in this weird limbo moment where it's like nobody's winning. One side keeps shitting on the other, and or I guess both sides keep shitting on each other. And in the end, everybody's wrong, like, because nobody's right. Like, it hasn't gone up, it hasn't gone down. We are simply just ranging. And so I just want to say, yeah, this little retracement up could be the difference maker to pump you way higher. Absolutely, it could be. And it also couldn't be, right? Who knows? I don't know. And you don't know. And anybody that is claiming that they know are just straight up lying to you, because nobody knows. No one knows, right? There's undeniably liquidity above. They could just shoot up here, and we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, there are some levels. And if we do make it up to like that 70K and get somewhat of a pullback at that point, I would say, especially if you break this high and close above this high, at that point, I would say macro structure just flipped bullish. And so any retracement at that point, you're looking along, and I would be more convinced that the low is in. But until some high time frame structure breaks, like this guy here, I don't think necessarily it is the time to be dancing and prancing and pre-ordering the Lambos, because I think nobody really actually knows. And so we'll have to wait and see what happens here over the next little while. I do think it'll be an interesting next couple of months, to say the least. I do think that we are destined to break out of this range relatively soon, given the amount of volatility that we've had and the fact that there are the elections and, the rate cuts and whatever else that they might throw our way. So I do think it may be quite volatile. I'm ready for it to go up. I'm ready for it to go down. But the very truth is, like, I don't care which direction it goes. I'm at the point now where whichever direction is closest to the breakout in terms of where we are with price is the direction I'm down for, or the easier breakout. Right now, we have a lot of liquidity above, and we're above the 0 line. Like, man, just get us out of here. Like, I'm ready for it. Anyways, that is this update. If you like the content, make sure to hit the like button. If you loved it, hit the subscribe button. And I will see you guys later, and I will see my Nexus people. If you want to join the Nexus, which is my VIP Discord, where I give the trade setups and I do very educational videos. I'm in there basically 24/7. And, I give video updates. I give message updates. I update you guys at 4 a.m. and I answer questions, and we do morning streams every morning and this, that, and the other. Then, man, I'm not going to shill. You guys know I don't shill the Nexus. The Nexus shills the Nexus for me. So all those links are in the description down below. I will see you guys in the next one. And trade safe, guys. I feel like this next week is going to be very interesting. Bitcoin is currently 63,000. And we'll see where it's at the next time we see each other. Have a good weekend, everybody. God bless. I'll catch you in the next one.
Pretty boy coming through.